Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Entrepreneur Encounters. Today's interview is unique insofar as I interview Patti Hood, the owner of Two Girls and Their Horses, an equine breeding, training, and performance company based in Mississippi. I started off by asking Patti, why would she even go into this business? Listen what she has to say.
Well, the first thing is it requires a great deal of revenue. The old joke usually stands to be a millionaire in the horse industry. You have to start with 2 million. So you're always searching to better your barn reputation and develop a more premium line of horses and decide what disciplines that you want to go into. And by disciplines, I mean individuals can be in horse racing, or they can be in barrel racing, or they can be in rodeo cow events, or they can be just trail riding or Western pleasure and showmanship type disciplines. There are so many ways to be involved in the horse industry. So you really have to focus in on the particular disciplines that you want to be recognized for so that you can specialize and train your horses in those areas. It is a tough business. It takes a lot of sweat equity as well as capital to be into it. It was a natural choice for my husband and myself because we've always been involved in the horse world from youth forward. To tell you the truth, there were a lot of tax considerations with it so that we could build up our barns and our property and everything and be able to benefit from the tax deductions. So that was one reason for moving it into a business. Entrepreneurship, it's just always been a part of me. My grandfather was a horse trader and trainer, so he naturally worked for himself all of his life. And my father owned his own land movement business all of my life. So even though I did take the traditional 8 to 5 route, that was strictly as an avenue to fund my business.
I've just had entrepreneurship in my blood. But for me, growing up and watching my parents run their own business was very impactful for me. It does get in your blood. It affects your outlook and how you want to look at stuff. And like Patty, many of us do choose to work an 8 to 5 W-2 job, but the desire to be self-employed is still there. And I also want to point out that at one point, Patty and her husband made a decision that was going to be better from a personal cash flow basis and taxes and what they could do with their barns. So there are oftentimes decisions that we can make that can help propel us into that area of self-employment. Way to go, Patty. All right. I went on to ask Patty more about what it's going to take in order to start her business. Listen to what she has to say.
I owned other businesses. Not only was I an accountant, but I also studied art at the University of New Mexico. So I always had an art gallery going or a commercial art industry going. And then on top of that, always had selling venues, merchandise venues that sprang up from that. But with this particular venture in the horse world, our venture pretty much began with simply purchasing and adopting quarter horses because that's what my husband and I enjoyed doing. And then we moved from purchasing to selling the quarter horses for profit. And then we decided to be more involved with it. And so we began breeding our own bloodline of horses for sale and to refine our breeding and training program to offer premium barrel racing and trail riding horses for sale. We developed other streams of revenue to offset our expenses. By entering rodeo events and receiving monetary awards if we won, this also allowed us to show the level of performance abilities of our horses that were for sale. And we also added a merchandising segment that we could offer when we were at the rodeo events. So we've just kind of grown based on our available capital, budgeting, imagination, and also reputation of our barn.
Did you hear that? Patty always had something entrepreneurial going on, whether it was in accounting or art galleries, but horses? That seems like a whole nother category. But they held something special for her and her husband. She enjoyed doing it. That's a theme we hear over and over at MKE Business Coach. People really love it. They just love it. And it's part of their brilliance and part of their passion and purpose that they bring into the business, right? The greatest gift we can give the world is ourselves and our unique way of seeing the problems that are out there and the ways that we believe that we're able to solve it. And for Patty, that was getting into the equine business. Additionally, she didn't stop there. There are lots of different ways that we could go on to support it. So she grew and she scaled and she started adding new product lines. She was talking about a merchandising segment, a breeding segment, a barrel racing segment. Okay. As growth consultants at MKE Business Coach, we see this reality all the time. In order to grow your business, we're going to have to look into complementary product lines and service lines. It's really so important. Oftentimes, there are great opportunities for us to be able to move into. We already know those customers. Let's find ways to solve more of their problems because they're already coming to us. We love to work with businesses who are ready to make that leap. And if this sounds like something we can help you with, please do reach out to us at mkebusinesscoach.com. Okay. Digging into this risk further, I wanted Patty to elaborate how she decided to take the leap because it's really essential, particularly with what we're talking about here with horses. Let's listen.
Breeding was a dream of mine, even when I was younger, before I decided to become an accountant, so I could capitalize on the revenue stream. This has always just been a dream of mine. I've always loved horses. My grandfather was a breeder as well. And with that dream comes the satisfaction of being able, from the minute a foal is born, you virtually are putting your hands all over that baby, checking it out, making sure everything's fine, getting it to nurse up on its feet. So they imprint on you and you with them. And those horses just have a natural want to do what you want them to do. So taking it from breeding to trading was just a natural flow. And then, of course, you can't continue to just keep all of the horses on your property. It's not fair to any of the horses that are competing for the grassland and things of that sort. So you do have to sell these wonderful little things after you have them prepared. But it takes anywhere from 3 to 5 to 7 years to prepare a horse for sale if you want to be known for selling premium product. And that's what we are. We don't just jump on a horse one day, ride it, and turn around and sell it. We spend many years perfecting that horse.
So that is a significant long timeline. And
Yes.
in order to get a payoff, payoff is coming at the end there for you. This is really sweet the way Patty describes this. She has horse breeding in her blood. When a foal is born, you literally imprint on one another. That's amazing. You spend years training it. And then when it's time to sell, so the horse can literally move on to new pastures, that's a big decision. But remember what she said, it takes 3, 5, maybe 7 years to do that. There's a lot of opportunity where issues can happen and things can come up. And you've got a lot of investment in that time. But it's also a beautiful example of how the business naturally grew along with the horses themselves. Fantastic. So I went on to talk to Patty about some of the struggles that she and her partner worked through. Listen what she has to say about that.
The first thing that you have to realize is that you do need a population of horses that you can sell annually. We try to sell 2 to 3 of our premium horses annually, which means that you have to stage your breeding program in phases, where you have new ones coming, new ones to be trained, new ones to be put out to the public, and new ones to sell. And so we had to learn that the hard way, of course, because at the very beginning would have periods, dry spells for sales, because we just did not have our program phased properly. So we had to we had to work on that.
So many of us can identify with Patty here. We had to learn the hard way. Maybe we made too much of a product. We sold it too quickly, too slowly. We grew too fast. We grew too slow. We entered the wrong market segment. We didn't understand our customer. There's so many things that can absolutely go wrong here. We've seen lots of iterations at MKA Business Coach, and we could tell you from our perspective as growth consultants, if this resonates with you, you are not alone. Not in the slightest, and we're here to help. Do reach out to us, mkebusinesscoach.com, to learn more. I went on to ask Patty a little bit more about how she solves the problems for her product. It seems like something that may be a stretch for most of us to get, but there are all sorts of amazing areas of business. For regular listeners of the show, you know that we love to talk about customer discovery, the process of actually going out and talking to potential customers and finding out what they're doing today to be able to solve their problems. Here's what she has to say.
You're always going to have to specialize in this horse world. And I predominantly wanted to specialize in areas where the clientele was more accustomed for paying for premium horses at premium prices. But they have very high expectations. Whenever you offer a horse to them for sale, you not only can have to prove their pedigree, their maintenance program that's been with them, their training program, you also have to provide them with videos of performance and statistics of their performance runs. So collecting that sometimes can be a little difficult because you have individual riders that are out there, and you can't make all of the rodeos. So you have to rely on them to provide that information. And often it's very slow coming because that's not where they have their minds set, and that's not what their talents are.
I love this again for Patty. Through hard work and frankly, some trial and error, and how many of us don't go through trial and error in order to figure out where we're at? She figured out the problem she's solving is that people who are buying a premium high-end horse want the assurance that the money that they're spending, the investment that they're making, is going to be worth it. And then the horse is going to be sound. And that's what she understood and made sure that they met their expectations, and all the hard work that's going in was in order to meet those expectations. That's a key when we want to figure out our product. Sometimes those barriers are not what we think. We can say, hey, I've done all the work, but perhaps our customers aren't necessarily feeling the validation that they need. So take a look at that. But once she figured it out, she was able to break through. Well done, Patty. So I want to ask her what she does when the going gets tough, because you can imagine dealing with livestock, dealing with live animals, dealing with the training. There's lots of things that can happen here. Because of the industry she's in, I think you're going to enjoy her answer. Let's listen.
Tenacity and adaptability when you're an entrepreneur is the only way to stay in business. The horse world is a hard world anyway. You know, you're going to get kicked and stalked, and you're going to fall off of a horse, and and then you have to say goodbye to the horses you love. So just being able to go through the dry time and live within your budget and be able to narrow your expenses when you need to, and then enjoy the business. And again, getting back to adaptability, nothing is ever going to pan out exactly as you need or become as profitable as quickly as you would hope that. So you've got to adapt with the times. You've got to be accepting with the times. And you always have to have a plan A, B, C, and D.
All right. Here's one of the things that stand out to me. Patty said plan A, B, C, and D. Perhaps there's even more. They just keep going. Another thing she mentions is that sometimes it's slower. It doesn't happen always the way we want. I just feel like that's a universal truth. I often joke with people. I'm like, hey, you should double the budget and triple the time, and that's probably going to get you a lot closer, right? Nothing seems to happen as fast as we think it will. And that can really drag on us, and that can become difficult. So I want to encourage you, dig down, find that tenacity, find that perseverance, one of the main features that entrepreneurs have. Because when you get to the other side and you look back, it sure seems a lot better than as sometimes when we're looking forward and it seems like a dark night, but you're going to make it. And that's why we need to anchor onto our purpose and move forward. This is another spot as growth consultants that it can be really important to bring in some support and understand What should be going on for my business? Are there ways to accelerate that growth when it seems like it's moving slow, or we're not really finding the opportunities or feel like we're moving around in the dark? Again, do reach out to us and let's have a conversation and see if there's a way we can support you. You can find us at mkebusinesscoach.com. So I go on to ask Patti, how is it that she stays sharp in her industry? Here's what she says.
We just bred the mares that we had to the local studs that were available. And as we wanted to grow a better bloodline, we began researching bloodlines of the brood mares that we were putting on to our property. And then we began researching non-local stud services, which that required us to move into the world of science, which I'm not real strong in, but thank God for my veterinarians and other tradesmen and everything. And we've moved into impregnating our brood mares through artificial insemination. We hope to eventually be able to even have embryo transfers so that we not only can use non-local mare bloodlines and studs, but we can go out nationally, even internationally, and select the lineage that we want on the stud and mare side, and produce a embryo and have it implanted into our brood mares to carry for the length. So these are all very exciting new ways that we'll be moving forward.
In case you're wondering, everyone, a broodmare is a female horse that's used primarily for breeding. And as you catch Patti's confession, she's not that strong in science. But guess what? She didn't have to be. She learned how to figure out to support herself by leaning into the veterinarian's experience. She probably leaned into others' experience. There are lots of exciting ways she figured out to be able to breed healthy horses and get pedigrees that she needed by reaching out to experts in her field. It's all different for our businesses, but the principle of learning from others remains. Whether you're trying to get better at AI, whether you want to get your marketing efforts better, we're looking to attract or retain talent, there's a whole variety of areas. You can surround yourselves with other people who've learned, either other business owners that have been through it, other people that have specialties in the area. My biggest observation is I think most people don't ask. So one of the reasons I brought together this show on Entrepreneur Encounters, because I thought we needed to meet and encounter other entrepreneurs on their journey, because there's things that we can learn from them. We don't know everything, so it's great to reach out to other people, maybe experts in their field, and say, hey, what is it that I need to know? Well, like you, I can't do this on my own. I want to thank Chris Crane for creating all the music for both our intro and our outro, and thank my wife, Kate, for all the amazing work that she does in order to make these episodes possible for you. If you like what you're listening to today, I want to encourage you to please like, share, comment, and subscribe. So again, thank you for joining me on this episode of Entrepreneur Encounters. I'm Brent Halfwasson, Milwaukee Small Business Coach, and I want to invite Chris to take us out. Ready to take control.